All right, so here we are, Claire. We are live on Facebook in the Facebook group, How to Live a Fulfilling Life Now. So I'm just going to say a word to anybody who's watching, and that is, so if you are watching, you're just coming in, you're watching Claire and I have this conversation, then please comment. Please send us a little like or a little love, and let us know that you're here and where you're watching from, where you're from. So Claire, I want to thank you so much for this time and for agreeing to do an interview on what is opening up in your life in the Woman Beat Your Drum program. And I was wondering, actually, would you just briefly say, and I didn't actually ask you, I didn't let you know, I'm going to ask you this one, but would you mind just saying briefly what it is you do so that people can just get a sense of you?
Sure. Well, I've been a primary teacher for a long time, since I was 21, but I took a break and had my children and learned all about the development of early childhood. So I've got a really comprehensive knowledge of children, but all the way through from my studies, I've had a passion for art. So 3 years ago, I changed what I was doing, and I took a big risk, really, and not really, it didn't feel like a risk. I followed my intuition, which was the first time I'd really followed it like that. And I created Heart Space, which is a children's art studio in Eastbourne, in the village I live in. I'd taught art from home, I'd taught art in schools and holiday programs and other places. But I just looked at it and thought, I just knew this was what I needed to do. And it's been amazing because it's been I'm 56. So it was sort of later on that I took that risk. And now I feel more vibrant. I feel excited about what I'm doing. And in that space, the children come and create. So I'm a facilitator. I mean, I say art teacher, but actually the teacher, is an exchange between the children. And it's more than just a creative art space for the physical art they're creating. It's a place where I want people to feel safe, to express themselves, to be supported, and it's a spiritual place, not in a religious sense, but it's a place
Beautiful.
where they're nurtured as a whole. And so much more comes into their sessions. The children add this spontaneity and there's flexibility, but it's also well structured. I just love it. I'm excited about it. And so it's called Heart Space. Yeah. And it's in Remus Street, Eastbourne. And there's a website, actually.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Check it out.
Awesome. Awesome. That's exciting.
I'm a parent of two teenagers. One's just turned 20.
Yeah, you're so passionate about that. And
I'm looking back now on what we've been doing in the course, and I see that actually that was a creative process too.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go do it again after having done the course, but I can't do that. So I'm going to go forward from the course and do the next leg of it.
Awesome. All right. Let's actually delve in and talk about this. And, because there'll be people who are, watching this, who are thinking about the program and, just, aren't quite sure yet. So tell me, there's so many programs out there. There's so much to choose from, around personal development kind of work. And why did you choose the Woman Beat Your Drum program?
Because first I'd done Love Yourself to Pieces, and I learned about your style, and I knew the worth of what we were doing, and the fact that it just totally resonated. When I did Love Yourself to Pieces, I knew that this was transformational in itself. That course for me was perfectly timed. As a lot of people did in the time that we had lockdown, I had to stop, and I hadn't realized how much I had to stop. And it was sad that everyone's suffering so much, but for me personally, it was a cathartic thing, and it changed how I did things. I even began joining a little meditation group on a regular basis, and I stuck with it. I didn't used to stick with things at all. Leanne, I'd met you briefly in Wellington, and I don't know if you remember, and I'm not even quite sure the context. I think I'd been to a Buddhist teaching, and it was in a space you worked in or something with Namgal, learning about reactive emotions. And And I just remember you. I just remember your your essence. And so when I saw online, I must have joined an email link sometime. And when I saw that the Love Yourself pieces came up, I just thought, I know that self-love is a massive issue for me. It's always come up in counseling. It's just always come up in anything I've done. And I've learned about through the Buddhist thing that you have to, love yourself. My mother always said, you have to love yourself before you love others. And, I said that, but I didn't understand it until I did Love Yourself to Pieces. And that's when all my past learning kind of just integrated.
Yeah.
And I felt so strong after that 6-week course. And initially I do a lot of helping out of other people. I'm forever giving away money to other people to help them do what they need to do, to my children a lot, to close friends who are stuck. And I don't even think twice about that, because to me it's just an exchange of different, it's an exchange. Money is not something I want to hold on tight to. And I also believe in that whole thing that money, if you are not focused, like my business, I don't focus on the money side. Yes, I manage it, but I don't focus. That is not what my main focus is with it. And yet it is abundant with what it needs to be for me. It's not massive, So, but I realize I have a real block, about doing something for myself. But the course was just under $100, the Love Yourself to Pieces. And it was just under. So then I came to hear about Woman Beat Your Drum, and I read your description, and I thought, I just want that, I just know I've got so much further to go. So I wanted to do that.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So you'd done, so just for the people tuning in now, that Love Yourself to Pieces, that was just, it's a little course I did, little 6-week course. And, so that's what
fantastic. And then the learning conversations, no, not the learning conversations, they're loving conversations, those lovely conversations that we can all go into.
Oh, the heart sharing conversation.
Heart sharing conversation. So so that was also just increasing my knowledge of what I had still to come I could do. And I was a bit blocked around the financial thing when it came to make the decision. And I spoke with you for an hour. Do you remember? And I really got to the bottom of it. And I got to the bottom of it. It was really hooked into the self-love stuff, because I wasn't, I wasn't, my self-worth was still so kind of fragile that I was worried about my husband's judgment on that. And I knew the money had to come out of the Visa card first, and I would put it in from my business but I felt like I was going to have to justify myself. I had to, and that conversation I had with you helped me sort of see, hey, no, I'm worth this. Actually, I want this. And I know that this is going to give me what I need. And I was so shaky with the game. I was almost tearful, wasn't I, when I was talking to you?
Yeah. Claire, it's such a big shift and also it takes so much courage to really look at where and how we've separated from ourselves, and that like there just isn't the self-love that we talk about it, right? But we're actually delving into the core of not feeling worthy, or not feeling enough, or not feeling good enough, not feeling wanted. And the Love Yourself to Pieces course, that just touched on it. Like the Woman Beat Your Drum, that's actually where the course came from. That's that kind of like the foundational work there. And so, it occurred to me and that's how come I've designed the programs like I have. It occurred to me that as over the 30 years I've been coaching people, that every once in a while, the coaching just wouldn't stick. The client would do great work, and I'm like, what is this? And then as I looked at it, it was, oh my God, it's self-sabotage. And the source of self-sabotage is our not loving ourselves, is that core. And so, in our conversation, that's, and oftentimes that's what happens when, when we're about to invest in ourselves, when we're about to step into transforming something. Well, firstly, there's fear anyway, but also then the finances come up, and it really isn't about the finances. It's actually when you got that, actually about, oh my God, I would have spent this money on the kids or a holiday or something else. And where am I in that?
Mm.
Yeah. So,
And I think it's that thing too, is that you don't know, like, because you've self-sabotaged yourself for so long, it's like, I'm going to do this, but I'm not really going to be able to make any difference because I'm just going to be the same, you know, like I'm just going to, you know, like there's a little bit of that kind of thing going on in yourself, like knowing that you've let yourself down lots of times, and you know that kind of, it's just going to be another thing that I'm going to plow into and not finish, or you know, like yeah.
that is, I really love that you've said that, because there's a lot of women are thinking that, you know,
I
because
can say right now,
we're, what's
if you
that?
start, I can say right now though,
Mm,
having gone through the course,
mm,
that you start that you want to keep going because it's so beautifully paced, and you've got this it's a treasure for yourself to look forward to that week on. And then there's this wonderful into between time when you connect with somebody you're building a relationship with, and you're sharing equally, being listened to and sharing. And then there's such achievable, I mean, it's really big stuff,
mm.
but what your tasks are to do, and they're daily. And so it's just like, I know now I never needed to have that fear, because in fact once you embark on Woman Beat Your Drum, it's like you're flowing along a river. You know, you're not gonna stop, because why would you? I mean, this, you're getting, if, right from the start, you're feeling the difference. So
Yes.
if anyone's worried about starting something and not finishing, I just don't think that they need to worry
Mm.
about that at all.
Yeah. And you are speaking from being on the other side of the fence now. So you know, but yeah, I know, you know, I've had a number of conversations with with women along the way, and you know, we're intelligent, and a lot of us have been doing this work for a long time, and yet, you know, sometimes it just seems like we're not getting anywhere, or we keep, you know, spinning our wheels. And so there, it can be that fear of, oh, I'm going to invest more money and I'm not going to get, you know, I'm not going to
Yeah.
achieve what I wanted to or fulfilled that. So I appreciate you speaking to that. And
And even the money aside, it's that feeling like you're going to damage your self-esteem again by not doing something. It's more that, you know, and I think I learned that through the course, you know, that thing about realizing that actually, if I'm going to do an unconditional thing, like on the way, we do these little unconditional things when we're ready to. And if I'm going to say I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to be actually harming myself, you know? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's that sort of, I think underneath we kind of know that, you know, like a lot of the stuff is, it's stuff we have inside ourselves. It's sort of so tapping into it. And you said, oh, we've done all this work, but nothing sticks. You know, we've done all this work, and we know we've done, you know, all over anyone who's coming to these courses will have already been on a self-development journey, really. They're already open, aren't they, too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, most, yeah, they're definitely open. Not, you know, like a lot of people have done personal development work, but not everybody. So, you know, some women, yeah, there's like all kinds of people who come, like, you know, healers and, you know, coaches and people who have done that kind of work. But then there's also women who are really just opening their eyes, you know, for the first time into a wider and bigger reality, and then they know they're ready.
And I think there's a lot of people through the COVID experience that have just been woken up a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. So I know people are really looking forward to hearing more like in your life. And so I just want to speak to people who might just be popping in now to, you know, to listen in on our little chat here. So if you are just, you know, tuning in, then please let us know. Put a comment below, say hello, and afterwards, Claire and I will go in and just respond to your questions. And yeah, so ask anything that you want along the way. And so, all right, can you share with us, Claire, what did you get from participating in the program?
Oh, okay. What did I get from participating in the program? A greater self-awareness, of how I was viewing things in the world, like particularly let's say, mostly within my close relationships. So I got from it, I got a deeper self-awareness. I got a greater sense of self-worth, which allowed me to change how I was responding and working, you know, and seeing really what was around me, and how I got tools to deal with my old patterns and triggers, that I could nip them in the bud, and I could recognize them and nip them in the bud. I got really, really good tools. I use every day, really. What I got was massively improved relationships, more compassion for my husband, and understanding, which actually also correlates into more compassion for myself. Maybe it was the other way around. I've got a much healthier relationship, two very different relationships that were challenging, with my teenagers who were 17, just finishing school, and my 20-year-old who's had a couple of tough years. I've been able to let go a lot. I was trying to keep on top of things, to, you know, control things, and I felt I was responsible for things, and I've been able to just step back and see more clearly and respond differently, so that in fact I'm not trying to change anything, but things are changing because I'm seeing things differently. It even spilled over into my relationships at work and teaching and in heart space. Remember going into heart space after one of the sessions and just suddenly realizing that, you know, I was enjoying it more. And why was I enjoying it more? Because I wasn't trying to control things more. I was more flexible. I'd become more responsive to the children. The children had responded by being freer. The time just was going so fast. Sometimes I'd still get there and think, oh, do I really have 2 hours? You know, I've taught for all day, now I'm 2 hours. And then I'd get into it, and it would just, because of how I was interacting, it was just flowing better, and it was going fast. I even, after COVID, my numbers had dropped because of people's fear and people's financial difficulties. And I thought, no, I'm not doing this just for money. I can ride this through. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I believe in it, and so on. And it was, you know, I dropped maybe, you know, a good third of my students. I was still covering my costs, but I was sort of doing it for love. And then as I went through the course, and I suppose things loosened up for people a little bit and they lost a bit of their fear, but I got new students, you know, I got kids coming back, but I got new students growing. And that's really through children and families talking to other people, because I don't advertise. So I feel like it's had this kind of like waves out effects as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Breathing.
fantastic. Yeah.
Right now I'm aware that I'm talking too much.
So I want to know more, like, can you share some specific examples from, like from at home, either about your husband or with your daughters, like something specific, like, so you could say, like, in the past, you know, if this and this happened, I would have responded like this. And this time I responded like this.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of them. It's funny when sometimes when you're asked for something, you know, your mind goes, but sort of like, ooh. Okay. So one of the things that my husband does is, if I want to, like, if he will often look and see, I've realized it's to do with a mismatching and a matching thing, which is that, you know, some people look for connection with people by matching up what's common, and some people look for what's mismatching and comment on that. And I was always feeling defensive about that and feeling criticized about that. And so often Nick would, you know, maybe he'd say, you know, oh, you sit down and do a lovely meal, and you'd see that that maybe, oh, you know, the potatoes could have been cooked a bit more. And I might have been really angry with him in the past, or just like said some snarking comment, and just like, oh, inside myself felt unloved and felt like unappreciated and all that kind of thing. I just see what it is, you know, it's just like, I just can laugh more, or just be lighter, and it allows for more freedom to just not, you know, not be so triggered, you know, by things. So, and that's ongoing. And the other thing that happens is that I'll want to talk about something that's really important, maybe something, a way he's spoken to the children or something like that. And I will say, look, I really want to, I do my breathing, and then I'm coming from this really calm place. Whereas before, I think I didn't realize it, but I had a tone in my voice that he responded to, and he would be very withdrawn and very defensive. And I think just my whole tone of speaking has changed. And so that's a difference. That is definitely a difference. And so if I will approach him about something, I'm very careful. I'm not having to be careful. I'm just more naturally just being more compassionate for him, so that when I'm expressing what it is, I'm kind of able to, I'm separating, you know, his mood, his attitude to me, or his judgment. I was creating a lot of that, I think. So that was through the audacious statement that happened. You know, we did this wonderful exercise where we looked at some issues with somebody, and then we turned it around, and we you know, we had belief in that the opposites, and we saw that we were looking for the opposite information. We were looking for evidence. I was looking for evidence all the time to back up my view of how that relationship was, and then I shifted looking for different evidence, and then I began to see that evidence, and so therefore I kind of relaxed with that person, and then I, you know, like that. So then I'll talk about something that's really you know, important to me, or important about what's happened, to help us work through it. And it feels like he's not listening, and then boom, he'll change the subject. And that just used to infuriate me. And I stopped commenting on that. I just saw it and let go. And interesting thing is, one day he was doing it. He did that, and he said, I've changed the concept. I used to tell him that it really annoyed me a lot. And this time, for the very first time, we were talking about something important, and I just left silence and space afterwards. And he changed it, and then I left silence and space after it. And he just said, I'm changing the subject, aren't I? So he recognized it himself. And that was a breakthrough. That was a big breakthrough for me.
That is huge. You see, because what happens, Claire, is when, and you this is a beautiful example that you're giving here. You know, when we have judgments about someone, and we don't even have to say those judgments, right? Our judgments are right in here, right? And all of our thoughts they create energy. They create a frequency. It can be measured now. It's all scientific. And so those thoughts don't just stay inside our head. Those thoughts permeate through our body. They impact our tone of voice, and they impact what the other person is picking up from us. Now, we are all sensitive beings, whether we open ourselves to that or not. I mean, you know, you can walk up to, let's just say, if two people have been having an argument, and even though you've heard nothing, you weren't even there when they were, and you walk up to them, you can feel it. You can sense something doesn't feel quite right, right? And you know, so most people can. So other people pick up on this energy and this frequency. And so, you know, the tone of voice and the energy is already affecting them, and they're reacting already to that. So when we alter our insides, when we alter who we're being in relation to that person, and this is where the beautiful thing happens, is that the opportunity opens up for that person to become more self-aware. Because if they're not having to defend themselves from you in whatever way, because, you know, when we are judging someone, we don't realize it, but that other person is already defensive, even at an unconscious level. And then they get into a habit of being defensive with you. And
Definitely.
so
that is exactly explains what it had become.
Yeah. And so when we transform inside,
I believe that it can.
Yeah, exactly. So have you got another example you could share?
So my daughter is very creative, beautiful. My younger daughter's just finishing her year at school, and she's quite strong-minded, and she finds it hard to do assignments because someone else wanted to do them. So she didn't, she was kind of not meeting her deadlines, and I was really anxious about it before and worried, and I would not, in fact, this is interesting for the intention thing, because I would be careful with my words, and I certainly would not be putting pressure on, but there'd be things I might say to her, or even just sometimes if I just go in, she didn't even want me to come in a room, or, you know, it was like really hard because I was so frustrated because I wanted to support and love her, and I believe in her, and I knew, you know, that she was feeling terrible about how things were going, and she was starting missing school, and there was a cycle, and it was like the more you miss school, the less on top you are. And I was feeling so, I was going around with like a really tight chest, and, you know, and then when I would interact with her and she'd be angry with me, I knew she was really angry with herself, but it was hurtful. And I mean, I was in tears a lot of the time, and she was, you know, just struggling. And they began doing the course when all of this was happening. And I think as I progressed through the course each week, as I sort of shifted and changing, and especially when it came to the intentions part of it was really magic, because I began letting go of my expectations, and I just decided I was just going to love her and just see her and just trust that, you know, whatever was going to happen, that I kind of knew really that if I began to really know inside myself that she was going to carve her own path out in life, and she might have a harder road if she doesn't go to university, or she doesn't, you know, get some qualifications or continue with her sort of more structured education right now. But when she wants to, when she finds what she wants to do, because she was feeling lost, you know, when she does, she is a power of force. And I just let go of actually, you know, it's like these expectations of society outside of you, and then you pass these expectations like dominoes, you pass these expectations onto your child. And our society is all really about getting people, I feel, you know, to conform to a society that's actually feeding a kind of a hierarchy of, I don't want to be part of that anyway. You have to survive, but, you know, I don't want my children to, I want them to be their own people too. And so anyway, I think through the course I learned to let go, to trust. And I just began just, you know, really letting go of that fear, a lot of the fear. And then I've watched Orla begin to just also let go of her own fear around it and start to be, she's just finished the most beautiful photographic portfolio. She's starting talking about photojournalism. She wanted to be a ceramicist, and people would say, yeah, but you can't make liver like that. And I actually introduced her to this just by chance. One of the children in my class's mother's a ceramicist, and she's living a sort of beautiful place in Eastbourne where she's actually running classes for adults, and she's also making ceramics. And I took my family on a course with her, and we did a workshop, which was fantastic. And Orla met her, and Orla also asked if she could photograph her for her portfolio, and then they really clicked. And, you know, the interesting thing is I'd asked Orla, if you could let go of everything, whether, you know, qualifications, money, whatever, what would your life be like now? If next year, how would you be living your life? What would you want to be doing? You know, don't worry about whether you can or can't, just tell me. And she said, I'd live in a beautiful little place near the sea where I could go to the bush or the sea, so I could fill up with that. She said, I'd have an outhouse where I had a kiln and a wheel, and I'd be making ceramics. I'd have a dark room where I'd be doing my photography, and I'd have a garden where I'd be growing my organics. She said, and I'd be doing all these, I'll do a variety of creative things, and I'd be living that way, sustaining that. I'd have chooks. And I thought, you know, we take a lifetime to find out that that's what we want to live. And she knew it. It was an interesting turning point for me. Now, I could have looked at it and thought, oh, that's pie in the sky. It's not pie in the sky. And this lady who's living like that, she's met her. She's now employing her between now and Christmas. She's teaching her how to do the slip dipping, the waxing. She's getting her to prepare all her core stuff so she can create her artwork. And she's paying her to do it. And I'm thinking, and, you know, and then she's just completed this amazing photo board. Yep, she's not going to sit her exams. So what? She's not going to do the other things. So what? She's doing stuff that's filling her heart. She came into my bedroom last night. I just want to give you a hug and say thank you. And she hugged me with the warmth of her heart. Leanne, this is magic. This is magic to me. It's really beautiful. She is so beautiful.
Wow. So I just on that, Claire, because I know that, you know, there may be some mothers who are just kind of hanging in there, you know, because you were saying, you know, that, you know, you were stressed, you had, you know, your chest was all tight. She was upset. She didn't want to talk with you.
Frequently in tears, Leanne.
So, so what
Actually,
was
not
it?
terrible. I made her feel more guilty.
What
She
was
could
it
see
that
my
say
anxiety.
what shifted, Claire?
What shifted?
Inside you, what shifted inside you so that you began relating with her differently?
I began relating with myself differently.
Mm.
I started to realize what shifted so much. Actually, it's a bit hard to answer because there was a lot of threads that came together. It was very definitely indirectly the work I was doing in Women Beat Your Drums. So I'm just trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I began putting out different intention, because when I did the audacious vision for Nick, I very quickly the following week we talked on how we recognize that what we're putting out on someone else is what we're putting on ourselves. So where in my life was I doing that to myself? And it was about seeing good communication, connectedness, being interested. And I started to realize, was I really doing that for myself? Was I rushing over myself and rushing around doing anything for everywhere else that I wasn't really giving myself that kind of focus and attention and love, you know? And and that was, I think, when that the whole thing of you've got to love yourself to love others, which is that part of the Buddhist core concept, part of what my mother taught us. It kind of when that really kind of consolidated, integrated, I think, that truly understanding what that meant as opposed to just kind of more intellectual. Oh, the head, the gut and the heart talking to each other, that connectedness, knowing those aspects, those aspects, but to really be able to give them their own space and have them, realize the importance of each one and how they can actually influence each other was quite formative for me.
So sounds like things started shifting for you as you became stronger in your relationship with yourself.
Less harder on myself, less tough, less critical, judging.
Yeah, and that'll be the key thing.
During the course of Woman Beat Your Drum, for those who are listening, there are times when you get to sort of a point where you need something on a personal level, and there's this wonderful opportunity where you can book in with Leanne for an hour and break through something. So there was one I did, and I'll probably be doing one soon actually, but if Leanne's got time, she's probably so busy. But where I realized there was a huge amount of anger in me. There was so much anger. And so I had to get to sort of the core of it, and then there was this exercise we did, and it was so perfect for me. And I think actually you asked where a turning point was. That was definitely a turning point at some point stage where I did that one-to-one work and allowed that just to flow through in a river. Do you remember that one that we did? That was amazing, and I think I let go of a lot I'd been holding in my body.
Yeah,
feels I really, yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, for those of you who are just tuning in and watching Claire and I in this wonderful and beautiful conversation, just say hello and let us know that you're there. Ask any questions at all, and we'll go in later and respond to them. So I told people that we'd be also talking about self-doubt. And I'm wondering, Claire, if you could speak to that, like where or how have you noticed yourself just having more trust in yourself, more confidence, and not doubting yourself so much?
Well, I suppose the big one is that I think I doubted myself to be a good enough parent to help my children through the transitional part of their life. And now I realize I'm actually I'm a beautiful parent, actually. I will make mistakes, as we all do. But that's the biggest one. It always brings tears. I've got tears in my eyes because I will hold that space for them, the way the space has been held for me to grow. And I don't think I believed that I was, and I think, yeah. Sorry. It's
No, that's just so perfect, really.
that's the big one. Um, I had doubt that I could make any difference in my marriage to improve our quality of communication, and I have no doubt now that there is definitely room for those things to get better. Or whatever the outcome, there's a right outcome will come, and it doesn't have to be for any change is difficult, but then that whole thing of that also new opportunities opened up. I think in the past there was a couple of times there were a couple of times when I did attempt to leave, um, and I had so much self-doubt that I really could not do that. But I wanted to leave, but I wanted to really change things, and I didn't think I could change things, which is why I left. So now I don't want to leave right now at all. But I do want us to keep changing things. But I know that it's only going to happen through me doing what I need to do for me. And if that comes to a point where I'm living in a relationship that's not feeding me, then I imagine now, I can imagine myself being in a place where I can make, adult decisions in a brave way. Anyway, I haven't really
It's,
thought too
yeah.
much about it. It's only just come up now in this conversation, but I just want to be, I just want to keep growing. I just want to be, I want to, um, there you start with an intention in the beginning, and I just want to just keep that holding in that in my heart and it's to allow to let love and light through and be creative and playful. I just want to just keep exploring my potential, and yeah, I just want to keep exploring my potential. I don't have an attachment to creating any outcome outside of myself, actually, whether that's what my children go here to do, nothing big. It's just I'm content. I'm content just to keep exploring my potential.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I want to speak a little bit more about self-doubt and just kind of tease that out for people who are listening in. Yeah. So, so we can often, because there's a lot of people who are experiencing self-doubt, right? And so, yeah, we can often, experience self-doubt because we have in the past, one aspect is we've tried so many strategies. We tried so many ways to try and figure things out or to make something go the way that we want it to go. And using the strategies that we know, it just, it's either it's not working or something's wrong and we're just not making any headway. And what we don't realize is that those strategies that we're using are strategies that actually come from a long time ago. Like these are strategies, and we started creating strategies, when we were very young, just after we're born. We're looking for ways of how do we survive in this world? How do I get my needs met? Because no matter how good parenting was, not all of your needs would be met. And so, that we're intelligent. We have this intelligence that is looking to survive, and that's how we create these strategies of, okay, so I need to become funny, or I need to be really helpful. I need to put other people first. And we make all these strategies, and then, as we go through life and as we mature and grow up, we don't realize that these strategies were made by a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old. And, as we then continue negotiating in relationships, we are still guided by those strategies, which, like they just don't, help us work. They just don't work. And so we can experience, a lot of self-doubt in, not accomplishing or doing things, getting the results that we want. And then we also get taught to not trust ourselves as well in our education, growing up with just the parenting that many of us have had, being very authoritative, and that we have to be told, we have to listen, and then do as we're told, but it actually just creates a lot of rebellion inside, and we learn to not trust ourselves. So yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit more about that, Claire. As I was speaking, are there any other examples around that you can think of that you'd like to share?
Yeah. For about, I think, almost 10 years, once a year, I've done a tramping group with some women, and they're a really eclectic mix of people. And I came in through one woman who I'd done the Camino walk in this Spain with to that group, and I've always been included once it's in that group, because it's a sort of a group of about 15 women, and it's grown to the point where it won't expand anymore. If someone leaves, someone comes in, but I've been doing it regularly, so I'm always part of that group. In my self-esteem, I think all the way along, I've always felt I've been sort of sensitive to things, feeling sometimes judged or not as good as some people in the group, and all that sort of messages that go on in your own head, or am I really here because they want me to be, or because those kind of silly things. Really, it's been a couple of years I haven't been able to go, but mostly I've done it every year, and I did go this year. And it was in Queen Charlotte Sounds. It was really full-on walk the first day, about 7 hours. And I walked along with everyone and chatted and had a good time, and was meeting, catching up. Each year we get to know each other a bit more. So it gets more relaxing. But, I think it's an interesting process for me, because I've been through a lot, in those years. And I think I'm a very open person. So I've shared, and sometimes people share things, and some people, it's a little bit like Facebook. They only share the best bit of their life. When you see a side. Yeah. So it's easy to sometimes feel like the person that's not whole, or that kind of thing. Anyway, interesting this year, because I'd been sick earlier in the week, that week before we went, and I really wasn't feeling up to going, and I sort of thought, shouldn't I thought, no, I shouldn't. I should go, even though I'm tired and I'm not fit and so on. And we went, and the first day was really tough, and I'd taken the wrong boots. I thought I'd taken my boots, but I'd taken my daughter's boots, and I ended up with really sore back heels. And the next day when we woke up, it was rainy. It was only going to be a short walk. It's sort of a 4 or 5 hour walk the next day, but it was pelting down, and everyone was hanging out waiting till it eased up to go. And I knew the tracks were going to be really slippery, so a real risk of falling over. And my ankles, I couldn't even walk in my boots across the grass. And I made a decision, and I felt it would have been really hard to make this decision in the past, because I would have felt very judged by it. But I thought, no, I'm actually going to take this time out. I'm not going to walk because my feet are really going to be sore. I'm just going to be miserable. It's going to be raining. I'm not going to be head down looking at anything. And I thought, no, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I said to the group, I won't walk today. I'm going to take the water taxi. And that was, that was fine. Actually, a couple of other women did the same. They just decided they weren't going to walk in that kind of miserable conditions. What's the point of putting yourself through it? Because sometimes you do these things and you do it because you think everyone else thinks you should do it and you should have to do it. And I would have been quite driven by that before, and I would have been consumed with feeling less. And I was just very aware that I thought, gee, I feel quite different about this. Because there were a couple of little kind of teasy comments made, like, oh, the tough ones are going to go. In the past, I would have really taken it to heart, and I didn't. And then the next day they did a big long walk, and I knew my heels were going to they just was not going to be enjoyable. I was going to end up with really sore feet, and I would probably hold them up. And I thought, I'm loving having this time to myself in this beautiful place and practicing all the things. And I said, I'm going to water taxi and meet you at the other end. And it wasn't because I didn't want to be with them or walk with them, anything like that, but I just made a decision for myself, and I made it in freedom. And I looked at, and we all kind of were on a WhatsApp, so we're all communicating. And I saw a few comments, and on some levels it meant I was sort of outside of the group in a way. But I believe in the past, my self-doubt would have made me, I know that in the past, my self-doubt would have either made me try to conform and do something against what I knew was right for me at that point, or feel really less than a person because I wasn't, meeting what I thought was someone's expectations. But I really challenged those thoughts when they came up. Those triggers were there, but I actually just caught them, and I just thought, so what's really happening here? And the interesting thing was, and I love all these people, but I also looked at the interactions. I was so aware of all the interactions and the way that people were working together. I wasn't judging, but I was just observant. I was so much more observant of the dynamics that on an intuitive level I'd been tuning into. But I had no doubt of my self-worth enough to be able to not be triggered. And I realized the triggers that I've been having and the way I'd been responding within that dynamic of that group went back to my schooling time when I'd been in a big family. I was the 11th of 12 children who grew up in a big family, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a rich family life on one level. We had also a lot of stuff happening that was probably full on for me as a kid, but a lot of other kids were in sort of families of 2 or 3, and they'd do sports or music and things like that. But we're so busy in our household. I didn't do all those extracurricular things then either. And I always felt a little different, a little on the outer, a little alone. And then I'd been through a couple of experiences where I'd been in situations, and I recall them, where I had been in a group and put on the outer, and I must have somehow attracted that because I'd been fearful of it too, I think. Right. And so I had this dynamic through my primary schooling and a little bit in secondary, not so much, but primary schooling, where I'd had a few really traumatic situations where I had bullying. One school, I left a school because of one particular girl's targeting bullying. My mother chose to, the teacher actually said, just need to get her out of here. So I'd had this really strong fear-based self-worth thing. I had a brother 2 years older who was always angry with me and picking on me. I'd had a lot of stuff in my childhood like that, and I'd taken it into my groups in my life. Yeah. I felt free from that for the first time. Oh. I felt free from it, and I made the choices of what I needed to do in that walk. And okay, I did one massive walk on one day, and I didn't complete the trail, but I didn't complete the trail. I can go back and complete the trail another day, and I'll go on a different walk another time. And I've done all those 10 years of walking, and I've walked, what does it matter that I'm not toughie, I'm not, the tough, those people, and there were messages in the Facebook group. I was, thanks for those people who walked with me all the way, and little things like that. And I thought that could be aimed at me. I would have thought in the past that was aimed at me. It's not aimed at me. The person wasn't even probably thinking. If they were, it doesn't matter. What matters is I made my decisions for myself without fear of judgment of other people, because people judge, but usually if they judge, it's really they're judging them. I learned that I was judging because I was judging myself. If they're judging, I feel compassion because they're judging themselves. And that beautiful prayer I did all that weekend, Ho'oponopono prayer, yeah. Loved it.
Yeah, beautiful. That is so powerful what you're sharing, Claire. Yeah. And so, yeah, I know you're mentioning a few little bits and pieces, of the program, and, just they're part of a whole big context.
And beautifully progressed. I found that the way that one beat your drum was structured, it just took you through beautifully progressed. And and every time you come away with that extra bit to kind of take you to that next stage. Yeah. I love the program.
Beautiful. So just if there's anyone thinking about the program and they're not sure, what message do you want to leave them with?
Oh, don't think about it, do it. Just do it. Take that leap of faith, because it's really it's beautifully structured to support growth, personal growth, and it's not overwhelming. Yes, it is big stuff, but it's not overwhelming, and it's really nurturing, but it's powerful. And I would just say, don't spend time thinking about it. Just give it to yourself. Do it. Yeah. Because it will change. It will. And I'm sure each of the 4 women, the other woman, 3 women that I did the course with, the 4 of us, I'm sure that we come out of it at the end with whatever it was that we needed, because there's a beautiful dynamic there within what's built up within that relationship. And we were not all, we were very different, 4 very, very different women, And I think that I can't imagine anyone doing it and not getting out what they need, really, because it's so beautifully structured to allow you to do that, to get you to do that. Yeah. And safely too. I mean, your ground rules were wonderful. I've taken those into other aspects. I'm a better listener. I like that. I want it to be. I'm so much less more defense. I just love all the structures you put in place for the course that make it that then there's a real equal sharing, and there's and you're heard, and I learned a lot from all the other women. I learned a lot from each of those women.
Yeah.
So it's not a kind of a one teacher, everyone, not like in a lecture or something at all. It's a process. It's an interactive process that just allows you to grow.
Yeah.
And it stays with you. I feel like this about the Buddhist teachings I've had. I feel like this about how the programs I've done with you, Leanne, that it's like you don't go back. You never go backwards from something like this, because it really integrates the changes, and they're there to pull on. And I keep notes, and we keep our notebooks throughout the course as well. And I mean, I know I'll go back and read this one. I know I will, because there's so much that I put in, and if I'm thinking, I'll go back and I'll revisit what the exercises were, and I mean, I hope some of them will just stay as part of a routine that I have anyway. So, but the breathing and
it's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. So, just as we, begin to just complete our conversation, our interview together, is there anything that you would like to say that I haven't asked you yet about the program?
No, but one thing I do want to say is that the other thing is, you think you're coming to end of a program, what's going to happen? Am I just going to slip back and that kind of thing? And I think, but the fact that there's always other things that you can move on to, like you introduced the fact that there is a masterclass, or you can redo it, or you can join, and even just the heart sharing conversations are always something that I presume I'll be open to be able to join in with, just sort of to keep myself topped up or to take myself further. It's really nice to know that it doesn't have to be like the end of a road. That obviously it's up to me and my choice, but I know that I can also, now that I know you're there, and I know that you give such a variety of different ways that you can support people. Like I could at any point in time I had a crisis, I know I could go and book in some sessions one-to-one with you, or that's really good, I think, because it's not just like you're doing something and then it's over and you're off. It's like this is something that you can take as far as you want to, really. Yeah.
Clare, thank you so much. Thank you for being so honest and so real and so vulnerable with your sharing. I really appreciate that. And so for those of you who are listening in, please, go ahead and comment, just let us know that you're there, and, we will respond to your comments. So thank you. And if for anyone listening, if you've got any questions about the Woman Beat Your Drum program, then just leave them below or message me, and we'll sort that out. So thank you.
Great.